What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, NVIDIA, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar moving forward, talk about big factors involving Tesla, and what you should be watching for as time goes on. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. The offer ends in just 8 hours, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So, looking at the way the market moved, we saw some crazy volatility because Jerome Powell was opening his mouth again, giving a speech. We saw the market basically start off very, very choppy, not really doing much. Tesla was dipping today. We saw quite a bit of a dip all the way down to my target around this 255 area. And we saw this market dip as well with Jerome Powell's speech, only to be followed by a big pump. So they dumped the market because they were grabbing liquidity and also because of the change in premiums for the options chain. So they were trying to sell positions just to reposition as time went on, just to buy things right back up. So the market saw a nice little dump in pump today, and it's looking quite bullish going into tomorrow for the short term. But the question is, what's going to happen, especially considering that we're entering the month of October. So here's my view, guys. It's very, very simple. Now, two things to remember. Number one, seasonality is going to kick in, most likely, in my opinion. And I think that by the second half of October, the market as a whole is going to be more bearish. I think that there's going to be a correction coming. However, right now the market's bullish and we could push higher approaching tomorrow and beyond. So for now, the market should pump, but there should be a dump coming by the second half of October. Now, the second thing I want to say is that Tesla is different. This does not mean that Tesla has to follow the whole trend. I'm not saying Tesla has to dump in the second half of October because Tesla is going to be very, very dependent on some big catalysts. So we have deliveries coming out and the robotaxi event. If Tesla gets a big squeeze even after the robotaxi event, Tesla could still outperform the market and continue to hold up and pump even if the market corrects. I want to make that very, very clear. Tesla has so many catalysts, so it's going to be in its own world for the time being. Okay, so deliveries and the robotaxi event will be dictating this thing a lot. It's not just the broader markets. Even if the market gets a correction for the second half of October, it does not mean Tesla has to follow that trend. It could do that, but it's not a guarantee because, like I said before, if the robotaxi event goes well and Tesla continues to squeeze for many weeks, it could still hold up and outperform the market. All right, so I hope that's as clear as possible. Tesla's going to be on its own for the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be very dependent on these catalysts. But I still want to talk about the broader markets and other factors like that first before I break down Tesla. So, what happened today for the markets? What's going on with our economic calendar and Jerome Powell? The first thing is Jerome Powell gave his speech and he ended up pumping the markets. He did indicate some very important things. He said that once again, the Fed is not necessarily on a preset course. And this is something the market was not as happy about. He's implying that the Fed is not going to do 50 basis points or even 25 basis points. It's not really determined right now. What they're going to be doing is looking at the data. They have to wait and see what does CPI look like in about 10 days from now? What is the data suggesting? They have to be very, very, very meticulous, very careful before they make any moves like that. He also mentioned that, once again, the economy is looking very strong in his opinion, and he thinks inflation is going to continue to cool down. Now, do I believe this guy? I believe that inflation is being reported as a downtrend. That's what they're trying to tell us. But I don't believe that the economy is strong. I personally don't think that. I don't think that the numbers are as legitimate as they may seem. And I think that Jerome Powell is doing whatever he can to calm the markets down, to keep them elevated. I think that's what his main intention is. Now, it's also very possible the Fed knows more. They know that the economy is not doing well. That's why they're trying to cut rates and etc. And they're not trying to tell us that. They're not telling us the truth. That's also another possibility. But what I see eventually happening is that Jerome Powell is going to continue to pump things, and this pump may continue thanks to him saying that the Fed has lots of things going on. They're looking at data. The economy is doing well. Inflation could continue to drop, and the market's going to like that. So I think the market will continue with the pump thanks to him. Now, it may not last, but we will see how things end up going as the time goes on. Now, for tomorrow, it's going to be Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. Please note that 15 minutes after the market ends up opening, we have the S&P Global Manufacturing PMI coming out. Might cause some volatility. Then at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the ISM Manufacturing PMI, the JOLTS job openings reports, the ISM Manufacturing Employment, not to mention the job quits all coming out at 10 a.m. So 30 minutes after the market ends up opening, please be ready, guys, as we're going to be looking for some very important data. I can't wait to see what this leads to, so please be prepared for all of this and expect some high volatility at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have the Dallas Fed Services data and a bunch of Fed speakers like Bostic and Cook giving speeches. So those are going to be more minor. The main time to be looking for volatility is 10 o'clock a.m. The jobs numbers are going to be very important, and the manufacturing numbers. Right now, the market thinks we're most likely going to get a 25 basis point cut. That's what the market's kind of pricing in right now. It could shift depending on the data. Jerome Powell was very, very clear that the market is it shouldn't be like too excited about one or the other because the Fed is not fixated on either of these quite yet. There's no preset course, so we have to be very, very patient. But he mentioned the important thing is the fact that inflation's on track to reach that 2% target, and he's very confident the economy is going to be fine. He continued to say that, and that's why the market ended up pumping. On top of this, I want to mention that despite the fact that the market's pumping, okay, we could pump more, but we're at extremes already, which suggests to me that the market's not going to be lasting forever at these levels. So we're at extreme greed right now. Momentum is also at extreme greed. And we also have the puts and call option ratio at extreme greed, as we're seeing this dipping right over here. So greed is making up the majority of sentiment. The VIX is still neutral, so we're just waiting to see how that goes. For other factors out there, Tesla's quarterly deliveries are set to rise in China, especially as they have lower interest rates that were announced. That's some big news for them. There's also news coming out about how they are continuing to do what's necessary. So, from what I was looking at, based off my numbers, okay, the Chinese sales look very strong. They look very, very strong in my opinion. So, I think we're going to be fine in China. However, the USA sales are still to be determined, and the European sales look kind of so. So we'll see how it goes. European sales are just like kind of average or maybe a little bit below, but the Chinese sales should offset that for sure. They look very, very strong when I was looking at the numbers. I did give you guys an estimate a couple of days ago about their deliveries. If you guys look back in my videos, you should be looking for the one where I talk about their deliveries. I gave you guys my calculations about why we should be seeing them beating expectations to get at least 462,500 or more. So you could watch that video if you want to see my numbers. China should be fine. USA, I'm not as sure about. That's going to be very important. Right now, volume is at 80 million for Tesla, so it's not too bad whatsoever. And we also have short volume right over here dipping a little bit. This is a decent sign. GLJ research is giving Tesla a sell rating. We also saw RBC Capital come out saying some things about Tesla. They mentioned that once again, Tesla's had some tough resistance to watch out for it, be careful. And we saw other analysts saying that it's time to sell Tesla. So they had different views. So keep in mind, guys, not everyone is super bullish on Tesla all the time. Sometimes different analysts could have different views. Now, right now, the price-price ratio is going up. We're looking more bullish as Tesla's getting bought back up. And then in terms of daily seasonality, we have a tendency of being green about 51% of the time on Tuesdays. We tend to see more volatility at 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But October is known for being weaker towards the second half, so just be mindful of that. But that's more because of seasonality. So once again, guys, seasonality could affect Tesla. That's why it's very important to know that the second half of October does tend to be bearish. But there's a big but. For now, the main things to watch for are not going to be seasonality, but the catalyst coming out. On Wednesday, so before the market opens, around very close to market open, we should be having their deliveries numbers. That's going to be on a Wednesday. Tomorrow is going to be the last full day until we get Tesla's deliveries. So please keep that in mind, guys. We have one more full markets day, and then Tesla's deliveries should be coming out. Can't wait to see what they announce. Okay, so is Tesla going to see some interesting trends like the market? It's possible, but the main thing to do is just wait for deliveries and see what the reaction is. Wait for the robotaxi event, see what the reaction is. Tesla could still outperform the market. We will have to wait and see. But for now, what do I see for the chart? We're forming a very nice cup right now. I think there's going to be a lot of hype associated with what Jerome Powell said, pumping the markets again, and we're holding our 20 EMA very nicely on Tesla. If we're bearish on Tesla, you want to see 255 break. If we lose that, we could be dipping to 250 or lower. If we're bullish, we want to continue to hold above 260 to push up for 262, then eventually 265. If those break, we could get very close to 270. What is my prediction? What do I think is going to happen? The answer is I think that Tesla's going to pump more. I think that this has some key levels to watch for, but this has potential to try to push up for the higher levels. I think tomorrow Tesla could start off kind of like down here and start pushing higher, try to break past 262. I think we might be looking for 265 to be retested. If that breaks, we could get even closer to 270. So 270 is a strong possibility for Tesla. I think 270 to 265 is coming. And then whether or not we continue the pump or if we get a rug pull depends on deliveries. We will see how that goes for Tesla. But for now, the share price remains bullish nonetheless. For other factors out there, we also have SPY looking bullish just for now because we didn't close below our 20 EMA for a second day in a row. We actually held above it. We dipped only to get bought back up thanks to Jerome Powell. So my view is the same for the broader markets. For the market as a whole, and once again, this does not have to include Tesla because Tesla is going to be more dictated by its events like the robotaxi events, earnings and such. But for the broader markets, I have the same view though. It's a different view of Tesla. I think that the market is in a topping process and we're going to be looking for a correction in the second half of October. I think that's going to most likely be coming. I think we're getting very close to it. And I want to make it very clear to not be overly confident or overly bullish during times like these. So for the short term, I am bullish. I think the market could go a little bit higher. Yes, we could try to push for all-time highs on SPY. We could pump more. But for the medium term, I am more bearish. I think the market is going to be looking for a correction by the second half of October. I hope that is as clear as possible. We still have a lot of gaps to fill on ES, and there is potential for that. I will go over more details about this in another video. I went over my cycle video during the weekend on Saturday. If you guys go back to my videos, I showed you guys what I think it might look like when the correction could come. So if you want more details about what my view is for, approaching November, December, the end of the year, just look at my video that came out on Saturday, the one where I break down the cycles. Anyways, so what do I think is going to happen tomorrow? Tomorrow, we're going to be looking at 571 as the main support on SPY. If we lose that, we're looking for 568 all over again. If we hold above 570 to 571, we could be looking for a rebound. And then we have resistance at 565 or 575. If 575 breaks, we're looking for 576 and 577.5 above that. What do I think is going to happen? My prediction is very simple. I think that tomorrow we start off a little bit weak and then we finish very strong. So we start off a little bit down here, then we start pushing to try to break to all-time highs. I think SPY is going to test 575 and maybe try to break to new all-time highs just temporarily for a nice little push. Now, 575 to 580 is going to be a tough resistance area. We could be going to all-time highs, but be mindful of the fact that we could get a rug pull depending on how things end up going later on as we approach October. But for now, we remain bullish. ES looks more bullish as we're holding the 20 EMA. But don't forget, guys, we still have this giant gap to fill down here and more gaps below, so we will eventually get that correction. But for now, we're going to try to push higher for the time being. So my view is very simple. I think we push into the 5850 area or even higher than that. We try to continue to hold up just for the time being. But then there's going to be a correction coming by the second half of the month. So I think we could be pushing for 58.25 or above that. We could try to push a little bit above our targets thanks to Jerome Powell and all these other factors. As long as we don't lose 57.94, which is where our 20 EMA happens to be, we're going to be completely fine. So we can push higher. If we end up getting a rejection, we're looking for a big dump all the way down towards, where our gap happens to be. So we will see how things end up going. But look for more upside potential in this. And then for now, and make sure you watch resistance and be very mindful of that. For NVIDIA, we have a nice looking inverse head and shoulders. We could try to rebound for this imbalance for 124. If we lose 116, we turn more bearish. My analysis is very simple. We push for 124 or above, and then we eventually start coming down for 116. So look for more upside as a very, very probable thing. For Bitcoin, we're dipping right now. We have basically the support around the 62,800 area, the resistance around the 64,000 area. My gut tells me we push up for the 64,000s, and we'll see if we get a rejection or not from there. But if we do lose 63,000, we're looking for basically 61,600 as the main support. I think we rebound first before we continue lower. It's still looking kind of bearish, so just be careful with that. Once again, guys, Tesla could push for 265 to 270 tomorrow for more upside potential. Just because I'm saying SPY is going to likely drop for the second half of October, that does not mean Tesla has to. Tesla is going to depend more on the events. And as of right now, Tesla looks bullish with SPY, so we could push higher. NQ looks bullish because we closed above our 20 EMA. We're holding above it very nicely. So it should try to rebound tomorrow. If we lose 20,000 to 50 EMA, we turn more bearish. And as long as we hold above 20,200, we're looking for 20,400 as our resistance. So look for more upside potential up there. Look for a push tomorrow morning. And then I think in the second half of October, we get the correction. We're not ready yet, so this should push for the time being for more upside. For the QQQ, same thing. We look more bullish. We're holding above our 20 EMA. We have support at 486 to 485. If that fails us, we're looking for 482, followed by 480 below that. The resistance to watch for all the way up here around this 490 area. So I think that as long as we don't lose 486 to 485, we could try to rebound and push for the 490 area again. There's a very, very good chance the QQQ tries to push higher. So watch for that. I think the QQQ has potential to push for the 490s, but then we'll see what kind of reaction we get later on. There will be a correction likely in the second half of October. I'm going to repeat that again. For Apple, we have a nice looking structure right here, cup and handle. I think we start pushing for 235 by tomorrow, as long as we don't lose 228.6 when we favor the upwards direction for the 230s. So nonetheless, we look more bullish on Apple. We're doing a very, very good job so far. If we push these highs up here, we could be looking for basically 235 to 237. So we remain more bullish.